Moving on now to Tanzania. The country has cancelled its Independence Day celebrations, and the decision comes amid calls for protests over deadly election violence last month. The Tanzanian Prime Minister says money set aside for the December 9th event will be used to repair infrastructure damaged in the violence. Now these calls for fresh protests are being made by opposition groups. They have been urging people to turn out on Independence Day against the killings of protesters that followed the presidential election in which President Samia Suluhu Hassan won with 98% of the vote. Opposition parties called the result fabricated and say the process doesn't hold democratic standards. This as two of her main rivals were not allowed to contest. Luhaga Mapina had his candidacy rejected over what authorities called technical issues. And Tundu Lissu has been in detention over treason charges since April. His trial was adjourned indefinitely earlier this month, following his objection to an anonymous witness.
The challenge we now face here at the court is that even the judges cannot see the witness, so we are not even sure of what's happening. This is a case we continue to insist is false and fabricated, intended to harm people politically.
During the election, thousands of people marched in several parts of the country. Security forces responded with what human rights organizations described as violent and repressive tactics. The opposition claims over 1,000 protesters were killed. However, the government has not given a death toll. The government had also imposed a 5-day internet blackout starting on election day. People sharing images of the demonstration were threatened with jail time. To probe these claims, the government has set up a commission to investigate the violence and protests.
The government has taken the step of forming an inquiry commission to investigate what happened so that we can find out what the problem is. The report will guide us to move towards dialogue to bring about reconciliation and peace.
But opposition leaders and human rights activists say they doubt the legitimacy of the commission investigating the incident. More than 240 people were charged with treason during the crackdown. President Hassan later urged prosecutors to show leniency with young protesters, and many of those charged have since been released. But now, there is more international pressure, as a coalition of lawyers and rights organisations have formally asked the International Criminal Court to investigate the Tanzanian government. The submission runs 82 pages. The document was sent to the ICC prosecutor on November the 13th and made public this week. It alleges crimes against humanity, including mass killings and the disappearance of more than 500 bodies. Tanzanian authorities have not issued a detailed response. Officials say the inquiry commission will clarify what's happened. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister appealed for calm. He urged Tanzanians to avoid violence and engage in political dialogue. But with Independence Day now cancelled, tensions are high once again, as Tanzanians wait for an answer from the government to explain its brutal crackdown.
I wore the crown of a revolutionary. I promised to lift my nation. I claimed to fight imperialism. I became the very thing I warned against. I funded militias across continents. I feared my own shadow. Some called me the King of Kings. History calls me something else. The dictator. Who am I?